The acid rain began falling as Marcus shouldered the unconscious Vulpine princess, her silver fur matted with blood from the plasma burns across her torso. Behind them, the sleek ships of the Cathara Empire disappeared into the crimson sky, abandoning their wounded royalty to the toxic wasteland of Xerion Prime. Cowards, Marcus muttered, adjusting his grip on Princess Liana's limp form. The human settlement was 40 kilometers across this hellscape, a journey that would kill most species within hours. But humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most stubborn survivors for good reason. Liana stirred weakly as they crested the first ridge of crystalline formations that jutted from the planet's scarred surface like broken teeth. Her amber eyes, dulled by pain, focused on his weathered face. "Why?" she whispered, her melodic voice barely audible over the howling wind that carried traces of sulfur and radiation. "Your kind. You gain nothing from this." Marcus didn't slow his steady pace even as the caustic rain began eating through the outer layer of his environmental suit. "Maybe that's exactly why we do it." The Vulpine nobility had always puzzled the galactic community with their rigid caste system. The strong protected the strong, resources flowed upward, and the weak were systematically culled or abandoned. It had made them efficient conquerors, claiming system after system through calculated brutality. But it had also made them predictable. When the hegemony's surprise attack had crippled the Cathara flagship during the diplomatic summit, Marcus watched through his embassy's viewport as escape pods launched in perfect hierarchy. Military commanders first, then nobles by rank, finally the essential crew. Princess Liana, wounded and unconscious, had been left behind as tactically unsound to extract. "Your empire considers you a liability now," Marcus explained, navigating around a pool of bubbling acid that had collected in a crater. "Damaged goods. But where I come from, we don't leave people behind." Liana's species had fox-like features, pointed ears, elongated snout, and a magnificent tail that now hung limply against Marcus's back. They were graceful, intelligent, and utterly ruthless in their social Darwinism. The idea of risking valuable resources on a wounded individual violated every principle of their society. "You will die," she stated with the matter-of-fact tone typical of her kind. "The atmospheric toxicity, the radiation levels, the distance. Your calculations must show this is impossible." "Probably," Marcus agreed cheerfully, stepping over the corroded remains of some long-dead creature. "But impossible is kind of our specialty." The storm intensified as they descended into a valley where the remains of an ancient civilization created a maze of broken walls and twisted metal. Here, at least, they found shelter from the worst of the acid rain. Marcus set Liana down carefully and checked her wounds. The plasma burns were severe, but not immediately fatal. Her people's regenerative capabilities were impressive, but the toxins in the atmosphere were slowing the healing process. Marcus administered what medical supplies he carried, designed for human physiology but better than nothing. "Your species defies evolutionary logic," Liana observed as he worked. "Altruism toward genetic outsiders provides no survival advantage. It should have been bred out millennia ago." "Maybe," Marcus said, sealing the last of her wounds with biofoam. "But maybe that's what makes us dangerous. We don't abandon our allies. We don't calculate the cost of doing what's right. And we sure as hell don't give up when things look impossible." They pressed on through the toxic landscape. Marcus's environmental suit began failing after the 20th kilometer. Seals corroding, air recyclers struggling with the contaminated atmosphere. But he had trained for worse conditions than this. Growing up on the mining colonies of Sol's outer system had prepared humans for environments that would kill most galactic species in minutes. Liana's condition stabilized as they traveled, her natural healing finally overcoming the atmospheric toxins. By the 30th kilometer, she could walk short distances, though Marcus still carried her across the most dangerous terrain. "I understand now," she said during one of their brief rests in the shadow of a massive crystal formation. "Your species, expansion across the galaxy, it was never about conquest." "No," Marcus confirmed, checking their position on his failing GPS unit. 10 kilometers to go. We spread out because we wanted to help, to explore, to meet new people and learn from them. Most of the galaxy thinks that makes us weak. They are wrong, Liana said quietly. We build empires through fear and calculation, but you inspire loyalty through choice. Your allies fight harder because they want to, not because they must. The final stretch was the worst. Marcus's suit finally gave out completely 5 kilometers from the settlement, leaving him exposed to the toxic atmosphere. His enhanced physiology, the result of generations of human adaptation and genetic optimization, allowed him to function where others would collapse, but even human endurance had limits. He stumbled through the settlement's outer perimeter just as his vision began to blur, Liana supporting his weight as best she could with her smaller frame. The automated defenses recognized his transponder and granted them passage. Medical teams swarmed them both as they collapsed in the settlement's decontamination chamber. As consciousness faded, Marcus heard Liana speaking to the human medics in her formal, precise manner. This one preserved the life of a diplomatic asset at great personal cost, she was saying. The Cathera Empire will remember this debt. And perhaps we will learn from your example. Marcus smiled as the medical nanites began repairing his damaged organs. Another impossible mission completed, another bridge built between species. It wasn't about being stronger or smarter than the rest of the galaxy. It was about refusing to leave anyone behind. Even when logic said it was impossible. Even when it nearly killed you. Because that's what humans did.